for our listeners that are thinking, how do we get into edutainment and start to innovate in terms of how their organizations deliver financial education or messaging to their communities? What are some of those key lessons that you've learned in terms of how to embed financial inclusion storylines and messaging into the dramas that others could take away in different parts of the world?
I think one of the key things is that your model has to be sustainable. It's great to have the intentions that you want to package this messaging and be able to reach a huge audience, but it's also important to make sure that there's longevity within that, because at the end of the day, repeated exposure to messaging is what creates lasting impact. So, for example, for us, we have a mixed revenue model that allows us to leverage on both mission-aligned funders such as development agencies, research institutions, non-governmental organizations to be able to ensure that our content is relevant, impactful, and accurate. But we are also working with private sector actors who will allow us to not only provide readily available solutions within the market as it currently stands. And also these private sector actors benefit from the series by long-term exposure to consumers on a medium that they completely trust, right? So having that intersection is really essential to ensuring that the series can continue to be broadcast and can continue to be relevant to our audiences, while also being beneficial to them, not just on a knowledge aspect, but also on a practice aspect as well. So I would say that also when you look at this content, the one thing that it does is it lends itself really well to repurposing. So the format travels really well. You can create this series anywhere in Africa, in West Africa, in North Africa. The issues are relevant across the board, so that they can easily be either recreated or dubbed into different languages to be able to redistribute that. We've seen content being used as training tools on the ground. So creating snippets or putting together storylines to be able to use them on the ground for training. What this means is that the series works a lot harder than a short-term campaign would, right? So then that means that the cost per view or the cost per reach and the cost per behavior change or behavior shift is a lot more competitive when you look at traditional training, especially in this funding climate.
I know you spend a lot of time behind the camera producing these amazing series, so I really appreciate you coming in and taking me behind the scenes of series 1 of Maisha Makutano.